What is up, YouTube? Guys, we are here for a hot minute. Okay, we'll see how long this live stream can last. I'm on a little break from dad duty. Hey, before I get into anything, master your money, free your future. Welcome to Budget for Life. My name is Jeremy. I'm not a professional YouTuber. I am a financial advisor, but this video is not financial advice. Okay, this is for your education and entertainment. I, at the beginning, was chuckling that I made it here because I have a 2-week-old and I've been full-time dad dutying and house nannying and maid servicing for the past 2 weeks and will be for some days to come. That said, I want to talk about Q3 collectible sales for GameStop. That's what we're here to get into in the video. So stick around for it. Before that, I got a couple points I want to hit on, a couple channel things, cool GameStop purchase update I just made. I want to share with you. What's up, Benjo? Talk a little bit about the stock, like we like to do. So we got some fun stuff coming. Let's go ahead and start with the purchase update. Check it out. This is my first time to get a graded card from GameStop. I'm a CJ Stroud fan, so I'm pretty pumped about this. What's up, Beakers? What's up, Steven? I know, dude. I'm making I'm making ends meet over here. I wish I could be on here every day, but man, it is tough. It's tough sledding to get away from the house or away from the dad duty services. But I'm here. I got the boys watching some cartoons on a Saturday morning. Got everyone fed. What's up, Sean? Bro, are you Texans fan, dude? Let's go, dude. We're about to tell everyone what's up on Monday Night Football. Let me see if I can share my screen. Oh no, that's share the live stream. How do I do this again? Man, I'm such a noob. Oh, share screen. Share window. Okay, let's share this one. But let's get the live streamception out of it. Okay, we're getting warmer. Thanks, guys. What up, Beakers? Oh, you got 2 little girls? Let's go, man. What's up, Kizo? Trying to get some more shares before it goes off, right? Okay. We got the screen here. So, what did I want to show you? Oh, right here. That's the card. That's the card I got. So check it out. I paid after shipping and tax. I paid $70 from GameStop for this card. And they're saying baseline it's worth at least 67 straight up, which means I got it undervalued from GameStop. So hey, give the card marketplace some love, you guys. That's all I want to say. What's up, Joe? Hey guys, that's another agenda piece for this morning is to say thank you to Joe. Thank you to Joe, the newest friend of the channel, and to say thank you to all you guys. So over 1,700 subs. Way to go, guys. This channel's made over $400. I think I get paid this week. I think in 1 week, I finally get the October 300 will finally hit my account. So we will officially be able to start the GME, the Budget for Life GME Infinity Pool, because y'all know all the earnings, all the net proceeds from this channel go to DRS Book GME shares. So I appreciate y'all for the support. And what I wanted to do was show you guys that Joe's out here, a friend of the channel. Thanks so much, Joe, for doing what you do. And I mentioned in a recent video, friends of the channel now also get access to my client communication. So this is the most recent video, and there's several others. It's not really designed for you guys, so I'm not trying to make it seem like, oh, there's hidden exclusive perks only available for members. It's like literally you're just a fly on the wall to me talking to my clients. I'm not talking to channel members in these videos. It's not like a secret society or anything like that. But if you want to hear what I'm telling my clients and just literally be a fly on the wall for it, it's another perk I added for the friends of the channel. One thing I also wanted to touch on before we get into some collectibles biz is the stock, just super briefly. I know y'all, don't like that I use these charts, but this is not a day trading site, but this is all channel. I'm not a trader. I'm not like, if I was a trader, I would use TradingView. This is artwork. This is just a paint and illustration to give you an idea. And all I wanted to do was just super simply highlight that, hey, last time we had a big dip, post this flip in April when that's when the 10K came out that showed that GameStop, the 10K that came out right here in April of 2024 is when this number was released, that GameStop was net income profitable on a full year basis. This is what happened right here that officially flipped the super long winded downtrend of GameStop and put us into an exciting trajectory where since then GameStop's become increasingly profitable, and now not only on a net income basis but also on an operating income basis, operating earnings basis. But since that kind of flip into, okay, now we're in sales growth, the company's moving forward, we've had kind of a few different times that the stock has been short attacked, crashed down, whatever. And the bottom in October of 2024 was 2057, and then in March was 2173, and then in June it's 2214, 2210 in August, kind of the same floor here. And then now most recently 2330. So even though when you look at the 5-year chart, this looks flat, like it looks like it's just getting destroyed, the reality is these are actually higher lows each time. And simultaneously, it still is very sideways. So you know that a breakout either to the upside or the downside is inevitable. And the bigger the base, the bigger the breakout. And the odds that the breakout is to the downside is negligible when you consider the fact that the current market cap is almost totally supported by the cash value of the company. Right now, market cap at 10.3 billion. Like how will GameStop become meaningfully worth, magnitudes less than the assets that they hold, while on the other side of the coin, breakout to the upside is like there's plenty of room to run, on a multiples basis. GameStop can go way higher from here. So anyways, y'all know the end of the story. The only question is how long does it take to get there? That's all I wanted to talk about there. Now let's talk together about the collectibles business, get into what y'all are really here for. Thank y'all for being here. 19 y'all on a Saturday morning. I appreciate you guys. Thanks, Sean, for saying my card is awesome. I'll try to stay attuned to the chat, but I really don't know how long I'm going to last on this stream before I get a call from wifey saying, "Hey, come over here. The episodes are finished. The boys are hungry. We need your help." So I'm trying not to waste too much time. That said, if you really want me to see your chat for sure, hit me with the super. No pressure to, of course. But I'm just saying I'm not going to be able to engage quite as much on the chat as I have in previous live streams because I don't have as long. This ain't going to be 3 hours. This is going to be hopefully less than 1 hour, but high quality and worth going back to, hopefully. So let's talk about this number right here in this blank cell, Q3 collectibles sales. And I do want to hear y'all's feedback, y'all's thoughts. Right now, these are in gray because these are my projections. These are numbers that have already happened, which is why they're in black. except for the software, which I've kind of just made red to show that it has been declining for years on end, and hopefully maybe finally bottoming out, but we will see. Collectible sales for Q3. So obviously, when you zoom out, the bigger picture of the collectibles business, we're all very excited about power packs and what that can do for the collectibles business. That said, it is still in beta, and we only have 2 weeks left of Q3. So, how much will the power packs business impacts Q3 specifically? It's really hard to say. I know also, we talk about the courtyard. Is it courtyard? Courtyard, yeah. Courtyard sales data. Look how much it has just fallen off a cliff. This just gets me so excited about the potential of power packs because I feel like despite Courtyard being the first mover in this space, that GameStop, power packs, and honestly probably the Fanatics rips as well are totally taking over this space that Courtyard was kind of a first mover in, because card volume sales globally are not falling off a cliff. Like, they're strong. So don't so this is not representative of the whole industry falling apart. But look, we're more than halfway through the month, and it's on pace to do less than half of what it did in September, which was almost half of what it did in August. Like, Courtyard is falling off a cliff straight up. And how much of that is because of power packs? How much of that is Arena Club or Fanatics? We will see. But also, if you were to take this, 60 million times 3 and say, okay, 180 million of revenue. Well, we don't know how Courtyard does their financials, first of all. And what I mean by that is, these sales, like, if you divide them by the total transactions is where you get the average sale price. And what I'm wondering is, what are the odds that they include when they buy a card back instantly from a purchaser? Like, do they count that as its own transaction? Like, are these customer transactions and Courtyard transactions put together? In which case, Courtyard's revenue would only be half of this, right? But the other thing is, Courtyard has all of the TCG and all the sports available within this kind of power packs model. Whereas GameStop right now, it's just football and Pokemon. So I think the competitive advantages of power packs are huge. I think long-term power packs will destroy Fanatics, Arena Club, and Courtyard altogether. Like, I think the long-term of power packs is very, very bullish. And I'll talk about the valuation for the collectibles business in a separate video soon. But I think when you're talking about revenue for Q3, I think you have to consider that Power Packs is in beta and it's only football and Pokemon. And there's this other red flag that we don't know how Courtyard does their financials because they're private, they're not public. All that to say, I got into a kind of back and forth, not a negative one, but a constructive one on a video recently. Which, by the way, thank you for the friends and fans of the channel. I wonder which video it was, because I think it was probably this one. Maybe I can show y'all. What's the one that has like a lot of replies on it? 8 replies. Okay. Yeah, so it's Knight, this guy. So I was talking about the margins on the Power Packs business maybe being closer to 60%. We don't have to get into the weeds of it on this video, but the point of what I was saying, I'll just kind of show y'all through that comment. He's saying, yeah, but every time you buy it back, like, okay, so you sell a card 6 to 10 times before a user actually keeps it. but you bought it back every time. And if you bought it back at 90%, then it's just 10% profit 6 times. So this is a little bit in the weeds, but if y'all want to go to this video one day and go through these comments, you are welcome to. But he's basically saying like, okay, that 60 million in Courtyard, like, is this 6 million in Courtyard or is this 36 million in profit for Courtyard? And the truth is, we don't know. And what I'm saying is, as far as GameStop is considered, they want a high margin collectibles business. So he asked me, like, why would GameStop not want the revenue to count each card that it cycles? Because what I'm basically saying is when GameStop sells a card through Power Packs and immediately buys it back, on their books, are they recognizing, 100% of that sale and then logging 90% of that cost on the expense? Or are they just logging the net? Like when it's immediate, like, okay, boom, we sold it to you for 25, you sold it back to us for 18, we just made $7 of free profit. That's really the question. And I don't know the answer. We don't know because they haven't. But again, if y'all want to weigh in on this, you are welcome to. But my hot take is that the revenue, the gist of it is, I think the revenue that GameStop recognizes from Power Packs will be relatively smaller compared to the revenue that Courtyard is talking about. But I think the profit margins that they recognize on that revenue will be meaningfully higher, maybe 6 times higher. It's kind of similar to the conversation we got into with Lego, where it's like, okay, is GameStop purchasing Lego sets from Lego and then selling them? If so, then basically they have twice as much revenue, but half of that in cost. Or is GameStop basically selling on consignment, right? Are they just receiving a fee for Lego? Like, is Lego distributing packs to GameStop to sell on their behalf, and then they're giving GameStop a cut of the sale? If that's the case, the revenue is lower because all GameStop gets is the cut, right? But the profit on that revenue is so high because they have so few costs associated with that revenue other than their cost to just distribute those sets within their stores and shipping, etc. If GameStop's buying Lego sets from Lego and then selling them in store, then they're going to make more total revenue because they get all of the dollars spent on the Lego set. They're not just getting the commission from Lego for the sale, they're getting all of the revenue. But then they also had to pay for the sets, so the profit on those sales is meaningfully lower. It's the same type of conversation here with the Power Packs. How many of these cards are PSA's cards that GameStop is just selling on commission? Which I think that's more of the slice of the pie. I do. And then how much of it is GameStop is buying cards, and then GameStop is selling the card, and then GameStop is buying the card back, and then GameStop is selling the card. If that's the case, and that's what that commenter was arguing, that will make their revenue numbers drastically higher, relatively speaking. But also the profit on that revenue becomes drastically lower. All that to say, we don't know. It's still in beta, and there's still only 2 types of cards available on Power Packs. So, setting that aside for now, when I think about projecting Q3 collectible sales, I'm mostly thinking about what is the growth and development of their PSA partnership as far as card grading and their own card marketplace. because that was introduced during Q4. It introduced, actually, we just passed like the year anniversary. So the very, very, very end of Q3 of last year is when this service started and when this line started. And you can see these were the collectibles numbers in the quarters in 2024. And these are the collectibles numbers so far in 2025. 227 million in Q2, 211 in Q1. So when I think about projecting Q3, I'm thinking about how do we carry forward the momentum from this business growth that they've already started, which is the PSA partnership. And then what do we tack on to account for the fact that Power Packs has their beta and Lego is now selling products through GameStop. So let's start with, how do you model out their collectibles growth from just the base, their collectibles business plus this PSA grading and marketplace? And when I say marketplace, I'm not talking about Power Packs. I'm talking about this. I'm talking about on their website, PSA graded cards. On a dollar figure perspective, yeah, what's up, Patrick? We're here doing the Saturday DD, dude. We're here. On a dollar figure perspective, Q1 to Q1, that is a basically 212 minus 137. That's a $75 million improvement, Q1 to Q1. Q2 to Q2, you've got basically 228 minus 140. You have an $88 million improvement, Q2 to Q2. So $75 million improvement, $88 million improvement. That's from a raw dollar amount perspective. You also have the percentage improvement. So if you were to take that 75 and divide it by the 137, that's a 55% improvement in the collectibles business, Q1 to Q1. But if you were to take that 88 and divide it by that 140, that is a 63% improvement, Q2 to Q2, in the collectibles business. So this gets hard to model for two reasons. Well, for all the reasons, but not only is there improvement year over year, like there's a dollar improvement, 75 mil, and then 88 mil. So you see that improvement and you wonder, is that going to continue, right? Can you tack on 75 or 80 million on top of this 171? And if you say that it tops out at 88, it's like, well, that $88 million improvement is relative to that starting point of 140. And so do you, like, this 171 is $31 million of an improvement quarter over quarter last year. And so part of the question is, how much of this quarter over quarter improvement is representative of what happens every quarter? Like, is there always that quarter over quarter improvement? Because then when you're talking about the total dollar improvement year over year, basically you're wondering, do you start from the base of Q2 last year, or do you start from the base of Q3 last year, or do you start from the base of something in between? So what is your base? Then what's your dollar improvement? But then there's this other dynamic, which is that the rate of improvement increased from Q1 to Q2 in 2025. You saw that jump of 75 million and then 88 million, or on a percentage basis, I forget what the numbers just were, but it's basically like a 45% growth to like a 60% growth. And so does it go from a 60% growth to a 70% growth, or 70 or 60 to an 80? And then again, with that relative growth, is that the growth straight up from Q3, or do you do that growth from 140 or something in the middle? So I want to look historically at the past Q2 and Q3. So in 2023, you did see a slight bump Q2 to Q3 in the collectibles business. And in 2022, you saw it decrease, but they were also slashing their business at this time. And you saw it bump in 2021. So all that to say, that large of an improvement Q2 to Q3, I think that's not historically always the case. So if I was going to take a figure to base an improvement upon, I'm on 50 million starting point. And so let's say you make that same, and let's say that $88 million improvement. Again, this is the very, very beginning of this partnership. So if the partnership's going well, which it is, it's going to keep, it still has a lot of growth ahead of it. So if you said you were starting with a base of around 150 mil, if you said in percentage terms that it's going to improve by 75%, that would put you at 262 for collectible sales in Q3. If you started at that $150 million base and you said, forget percentages, let's say it just improves by a raw $90 million, or let's say 95 million. So you take that, it was 75 Q1 to Q1, 88 Q2 to Q2, and Q3 to Q3, we're basically teasing this 170 down to 150, saying, hey, maybe some of this PSA partnership kind of just hit right away those last 2 weeks of Q3. So let's say their starting point is more like 150. If you said it improved by $95 million, then that puts you at a $245 million figure for Q3 on just kind of their raw business growth development in terms of their partnership with PSA. Then you think about, does that make sense? And then we got to add in Lego and Power Packs, right? But if they were in this range, quarter over quarter, they made about $16 million more. So if they do that again, which I think is like the baseline expectation, I mean, a 16 mil improvement divided by this 211.7 is a 7.5% growth quarter over quarter. So if you took that same growth rate, 7.5% growth, again, that puts you at 245 on the dot. So I feel like worst case, you're going to see 245 million in collectibles, but I think the worst case is probably closer to 262 because, again, we haven't talked about Legos and collectibles. And for our relative growth numbers, we teased this one down to 150. So again, if you want to get more aggressive, you could say, what if it grows 75% from 171? And that puts you at 306 million, right? So that's another 40 million, 50 million right there, just based on how fast do you think this partnership is growing and how fast do you think it got off the jump when it started at the very end of Q3 of last year, right? Super crazy, huh? That said, I'm trying not to be hyperbole. Like I'm trying to be I want to be right, you know, and I will compare my estimates as we get this all filled out. Once we get, a month and a half from now and we're actually approaching Q3 earnings, I'm excited to kind of go through my estimates, go through any other public estimates that people put out there, listen to their rationale, go back, watch my old videos, listen to my rationale, and kind of come up with a final guesstimate figure. But anyways, another way to think about does this make sense is what percentage of the sales do these figures represent? Like if this becomes the sum of 13 through 15, and let's just say the base case, well, I think that 262 is more of where I'm leaning. Let's just call it 255 plus, let's call it 260 plus whatever we think Lego and Power Packs is going to do. I'm going on the higher end of that range that I wrote down there because the actual high end is more like 300 on just their kind of raw business growth. So I think 260 is relatively conservative. Okay, what are you doing? Oh, why is this AI 15? There you go. So if these three guesstimates are accurate, then you're looking at a 1.17 billion revenue in Q3, and quarter over quarter, what kind of growth is that? 198 divided by 972. That's a 20% growth quarter over quarter, which normally would sound insane, but the heavy lifting of that is the Switch 2 continuing to do what it does and being closer to, being available for the whole quarter, which it wasn't for all of Q2. And Q3 is closer to Christmas time, and it's the first Christmas that the Switch 2 is available. And so when you think about their numbers from Q1 to Q2, it's probably even more than a 20% growth. 972 minus 732 is 240 divided by 732. Yeah, so they grew 33% quarter over quarter from Q1 to Q2. So this would project a 20% growth quarter over quarter. What's up, Earl? Glad you're here, dude. Yeah, Patrick, this 260 doesn't even include Lego yet. So we'll get into what is the impact of Lego for Q3. But what I want to see is if you take this number and AH12, AH12. So my software, I don't know, this software could be a little rich. I need to go back to that. But 260, I think 260 is going to end up being way too low, which again, we haven't talked about Power Packs for Lego yet. So my estimate is going to be higher than 260, but this breakdown gives me some level of, what's up, Andrew? Glad you're here, dude. This gives me a level of confidence that that this 260 is low. To me, the odds that the collectibles business represents a substantially lower percentage of their revenue in the middle of the PSA partnership growing, when PSA is booming, plus Lego, plus Power Packs, even though Lego wasn't available the whole quarter, even though Power Packs is still in beta, I think this is definitely on the very conservative side. And that's good. probably means I'm closer to being accurate. But this part, so, anyways, part of me wants to say that this number is probably a little bit too high. I don't know because software was literally 24% of revenue just 2 quarters ago. So I'll worry about going back on software. Um, Andrew's gonna open another power pack. Way to go, dude. Way to go. I'll worry about going back on this in another video. But part of me wants to say, like, okay, that 260, like 240 to 300 is plus Lego and power packs is kind of like the base expectation for what the collectibles business is going to do, in my opinion. But the reality is Q1 to Q2, you only saw a $16 million improvement. So you could just say on a raw numbers perspective, it's just going to improve by 16 million, in which case, 233 plus Lego and power packs would be your like floor projection. I'd be shocked if anyone came in at lower than uh, 240 all said and done. All that to say, what's Lego going to do? Well, when did Lego's partnership with GameStop start? When did Lego start selling at GameStop? I could just look at their Twitter. Okay, here you go. They posted Lego's now available 6 weeks ago. Okay, so 2 of the 3 months of Q2, Lego was available. In my Lego video, I speculated that if GameStop could do about 10% of Lego's United States distribution, that they're in line to make about $25 million a quarter of revenue, of high margin revenue. That's just with them selling on commission, basically. And then once Pokemon comes out in 2026, that would cause probably at least a 25% growth to their Lego sales numbers. That said, they just started. So the odds that right now GameStop's at 10% of Lego's United States distribution, I would say is very low. But so if they are 5% of Lego's United States distribution, which to you might still seem aggressive, but again, there's really not very many. There are no national game retailers like other than GameStop. They're the last one standing. There's no Toys R Us, right? So all you're competing with is your Walmart and Target, etc. All that to say, if they can get 5% of Lego instead of 10% of Lego United States, now you're looking at 12.5 million instead of 25 million. Let's just call it 12. But then they were only available for 2 out of the 3 months. So you take that 12 and you say, give me 2/3 of that. You're looking at maybe $8 million of Lego sales in Q3. And that's if they were at 5% from the jump. The odds that that's the case also relatively low, right? But I'm going to say there's enough GameStop enthusiasts out there that it allows GameStop to kind of outperform relatively to how they should perform. Like, let me say this differently. If Target came out with the CandyCon controllers, I don't think, like, if that was Target's invention, I don't think they would sell as well compared to it being GameStop's invention. And I think it's because there are so many people that are involved in the story of GameStop that maybe just got started because of the squeeze in 2021 that are now looking for reasons to spend money at GameStop. Like the truly fanatic customer base that exists with GameStop does not exist for these other big box retailers, which allows GameStop to outperform relatively to how it should perform on just a pure statistical perspective. All that to say, if we bring that 8 million, I don't know. Maybe I'll just leave it at 8. maybe I'll leave it at 8. Maybe I'll bring it down to 7 as far as what I expect from Lego sales in Q3 specifically. And then you have Power Packs. Power Packs is the huge X factor. We don't know hardly anything about it. you know, other than we know the most important things about it, which are that long term it has really strong competitive advantages with really wide moats. So we know that it has a really viable case to be a really big revenue driver into the years ahead. But what is it doing in Q3 specifically? It's hard to say. And how much of whatever it's doing does GameStop get a cut of? It's hard to say. I wonder, like, if like there's any way, like anecdotally, all I have is like, random people posting about how much money they're spending on power packs. And there's definitely the people out there that are spending a bunch, but like, does that mean that everyone is? I don't know. Like, I just feel like Arena Club, for example, Arena Club revenue. I pulled this up in a recent video. Okay, no, that's the media company. Like, who knows if this is accurate or not? It's probably not at all. But this random AI thing says, and same with this other company, says that Arena Club as a whole might make $5 million a year. I think it's probably more than that. But like, what can and I think Power Packs is a better product. I think Arena Club has an inherent disadvantage that they do their own their own grading. Like, there's a lot going on with Arena Club that, to me, this is like the worst case scenario of what Power Packs could be doing. Is like, Power Packs as a whole is making a few $1,000,000 a year, you know. And then you have the Fanatics Collectibles business that's doing 1.5 billion a year, but that's a lot more than just their rips. It's a lot more similar. Most of that Fanatics Collectibles business is more similar to this GameStop marketplace, which I'm baking in the growth of this GameStop marketplace into this 260 that we've already put, and maybe even as high as 300, right? This 260 I think is low, but I'm baking GameStop's marketplace into that core collectibles business that we've already started projecting. As far as their power packs, and that's similar to the Fanatics Collect, whatever. Like, most of their collectibles business is similar to GameStop's marketplace that we've already modeled. And then they have these auctions, right? Which is, again, more similar to eBay than the Power Packs business. The pack ripping within Fanatics Collectibles is just a little portion of overall the money that they are making. So again, the other closest example we have to get um, an idea of what Power Packs is doing is the Courtyard. Courtyard. Hey, thanks, Gunter. Gunter has 1.71 subscribers and climbing. Well deserved and refreshing to see this kind of analysis. Thanks, dude. I appreciate that. We are climbing out here. We're doing work out here. Patrick also says, hard to get out of our bubble, but I cannot say a single person in my world would have any idea what the concept of a power pack is, or even how the TCG ecosystem works. Yeah, so Patrick's world is not into TCG, period. I'm not worried about TCG because we have enough data from Card Ladder to show that, like, the overall collectibles market is growing and growing fast. But it's a good point, Patrick. Like, the power packs, like the rips for digital already graded cards, is a fraction of the collectibles market, and the collectibles market is a fraction of the world. you know, so it's not like this infinite money printer. Now this number is going to be $300 billion. Like, of course, we're trying to be measured here. That said, the closest thing we have to go off of is that Courtyard um, sales data that we have. And the only reason we even have these numbers is because Courtyard on their website, oh, great time for my internet to go down. Courtyard like makes it publicly available anytime transactions happen. So they have this like just pulled section, and they'll show you, okay, 1 minute ago, 1 minute ago, 1 minute ago, like people were pulling these cards. 3 minutes ago, someone pulled this Lamar Jackson card. Cool. Like, there you go. And you can see the history of this card, and you can see that he sold it right back. So he got it from $100 pack, and then he sold it back for 152 to Courtyard. So again, these are two different transactions, and I think this data is aggregating both this sale and this sale as part of their total sales. I haven't heard anyone else talk about this. This is just what I have observed and what I've kind of found and speculating from my own research. Hey, thanks Short Fridays for the soup. Thanks, dude. $10, man. He says supporting your channel and information. Thank you so much. We're coming here with the deep dive. These are two sales. And to me, that makes sense as to like, why are Courtyard's numbers dramatically higher? Seriously, thanks. Thanks, Short Fridays. Thank you, dude. You've been a regular out here, and I appreciate it a bunch, man. Thank you. Why are Courtyard's numbers way higher than Arena Club? I think Courtyard's business is better than Arena Club, but we got people estimating Arena Club at 5 million in revenue a year. you know, like, and we've got Courtyard doing 60 million in revenue a month, right? Until Power Packs came in, right? I honestly do think the biggest reason for this sharp reduction in Courtyard sales is Power Packs. So on the bullish end of what could Power Packs be doing, I think it is taking over Courtyard. Of course, Fanatics Collect is already there. But that was already there back here too. So like if people really wanted the Fanatics rips, you would have seen that have a bigger effect sooner compared to literally beta comes out right here, right in this window of this sales volume. All that to say, if you're going to use Courtyard to project what Power Packs can do, we already talked earlier about some differences, but I think you have to take it in half and basically say, okay, 60 million is like the best case scenario times 3, right? Because this is per month. And then you divide that by 2. So 90 million in Courtyard customer sale revenue. But that's, again, with all of these different sports and all these different types of packs, TCG packs available. So if Courtyard is doing 90 million in pure revenue, right? If you net out the Courtyard driven sales, then you have to say, well, what portion of those sales are coming from baseball, basketball, One Piece, soccer, comics, right? Because all Power Packs has is football and Pokemon. Now, did football and Pokemon on Power Packs, is it going to do more than what football and Pokemon did on Courtyard? Yes, I think so. But there's still the reality that they don't have all these other lines. So let's say you take that 90 million and say give power packs, like, I'd say generously give football and Pokemon probably a quarter of that. Maybe let's say a third, just to be nice, because what if power packs outperforms? If you divide that 90 by 3, now you're looking at 30 million in revenue for the whole quarter, and that's based on a full 3 months. Beta came out on July 29th. So beta has been out the full 3 months. August, September, October is Q3. But we're just in beta, right? And of that 30 million in revenue, that's what Power Packs is making potentially at the beginning right now. That's what Power Packs is making, but Power Packs is a partnership with PSA, right? It's a collaboration. So my guess is that GameStop is not interested in recognizing low margin revenue. I don't think they want to recognize a ton of sales only to have a 10% gross margin on those sales. I think GameStop just wants to receive a commission from PSA for generating sales for PSA. I think GameStop's like, hey, we'll build the site, we'll build it out. And why wouldn't PSA do this themselves? Because PSA has bigger fish to fry. Like we just talked about with Fanatics Collectibles, like the eBay right now in the collectibles business is way more of a revenue driver than the digital packs is in the collectibles business. And PSA, they're trying to grade more and more stuff. They're trying to get more and more people to grade stuff. Like they are focused on dominating the world of grading and then selling from their PSA vault on eBay. And they have a huge collaboration with eBay. All that to say, I think they were like, yeah, GameStop, go ahead and build it. It's free money for us, no problem. Gets us moving more cards faster, gets more people interested in the business. The more buyers we have for this stuff, the better, especially cards that we don't really have buyers for. Put them in the Power Packs ecosystem, right? So I think PSA is probably the one recognizing that 30 and then expensing the 27, right? I think GameStop is just taking a commission on the sales. I think probably GameStop's just getting, again, it's really a blend. It's not just straight up. But I'd say if GameStop gets a 6% cut of the transaction volume on Power Packs, then that would put you at literally $2 million of revenue for Power Packs for Q3 specifically. Again, that's going to sound like the most bearish thing you've ever heard anyone say. I'm not talking about the future of Power Packs. I'm just talking about Q3 with Power Packs. And we'll know once we have some data. GameStop might tell us a little bit more about how this breaks out, but right now they haven't. So if you say they made two, I know that feels so low because you have the examples of people that are like, I've spent $20,000 on Power Packs, right? And I'm still at a break even. But the reality is those are the small minority. Personally, I have spent $250 on Power Packs this quarter. I got 10 $25 packs. And after doing so, I'm like, I think for me personally, I find a lot more joy in, I want to buy something that I know what I'm getting. I want to get maybe a player that I like, that I think is going to improve on his legacy and therefore improve on the value of the card. And I know that all this revenue is going to GameStop, and I know they're getting good margins on this. Like, this is more enjoyable for me, and it's, I think, more profit and more revenue for GameStop compared to this. But I know some people are going hard on it. So again, am I being too bearish on Q3 specifically for Power Packs? Maybe. 2 million seems low, but 2 million would be GameStop's hypothetical cut on 30 million of revenue, right? And if you think they make a 10% margin, then you'd say, well, that's 3 million instead of 2 million, right? Like it's not a huge X factor. If you think somehow they make a 20% margin on their Power Packs business because the cards appreciate before they are sold for the next time. So even though they're buying it at 90%, by the time they sell it again, they've already made another 10%. Then you're still at only a $6 million net profit on 30 million of revenue. And I think they're interested in recognizing a commission that's high margin rather than recognizing 30 million here and then cost of sales being 26 million here, right? Patrick says the power of gambling dopamine is strong, though. I agree that for a lot of people, I think most people, this is going to be like a more important business to GameStop than this. But so far, historically in the collectibles business, this is where almost all of the money happens. And this is like the new iteration. So we have to see how much of the pie does this become. To us, it doesn't really matter because GameStop has both, right? Like as long as we're bullish on the collectibles business as a whole, then we're sitting pretty. All that to say, I don't think even if Power Packs does 30 million, that GameStop's Q3 collectibles number revenue is going to go up by 30 million. But some people do. Some people think they're going to take all the revenue and they're just going to give PSA a cut. Like it's basically one or the other. In reality, it's a blend of both. So we don't really know. I'd say like because this 260 was relatively conservative, like we could have said as high as 300 even without Power Packs and Lego. I kind of want to say, what if I'm let's go 271. I kind of want to stay true to my so I'm basically adding in another million. So 8 million for Lego, 3 million for Power Packs, and that 3 million would basically be pure profit for Power Packs. That is what I'm going to go with for Q3 for now. I'm excited to see what other people come up with, excited to see their opinions on the stock and on Power Packs, but ultimately no one knows, guys. No one knows what this business is doing. We are all just guessing as far as how much revenue are they generating and then how are they accounting for that revenue. We do not know. Okay, so that makes this hard. I think I am probably I'll separate it. I'll separate out a separate video for what can this mean for GameStop long term, because some people think, hey, this could be $1 billion of revenue a year alone. And I generally, painting with a broad brush, I would say, oh yeah, it definitely can be. This could totally be a $1 billion revenue driver annually for GameStop. So I don't want you to hear me say, oh, it's going to do 3 million in Q3 as some type of super negative sentiment. I just think almost all of the growth of this is still to come. It's still in beta. It's only 2 types of packs available. And we don't know what the commission spread is like with PSA. Is GameStop recognizing all the revenue? Like, what's GameStop hungrier for? Are they hungrier for this gross margin number, or are they hungrier for the top line sales number? And we don't know. I think they're more interested in the margin number. But if you think they're more interested in the top line, then you would say this 271 is more like, 301, and then you would have a lower gross margin figure than I would. So it's kind of like pick your poison. Either way, we're talking about the same implications for operating income. So we will get to those projections in future videos. But basically here we've got the continued PSA partnership plus Lego plus power packs. And that is where we come to for Q3. We'll talk about cost of sales, gross profit, gross margin in another video and kind of fill out the rest of the income statement. Obviously, we'll wait till October 31st to project their total net income because we'll want to see where does Bitcoin land on October 31st and how much Bitcoin revenue are they going to recognize there. Short Friday says, do you know when the last day is this quarter reports? Oh, yeah. I was just talking about it. Yeah, so October 31st is the last day of Q3 for GameStop. So, hey, feel free to support the company. I've got another couple cards on the way. So I'm excited about that. I just bought a couple. I don't know. I probably shouldn't go to my account because you'll see my account number. I don't know. Is that weird? I'll show you when they come in the mail. I also learned that with this PSA vault, when you have a PSA vault, which the only reason I have one is because of all these power packs, which I kept some of these. I also just started my first sell it through eBay. So I've been trying to experience GameStop's collectibles business from every side. I've bought some cards from here. I've bought some cards from Power Packs. I've sold some cards instantly back to GameStop. Now I'm doing this auction to eBay, and I'm going to do some more. I've vaulted. This is a card that I bought on eBay, but I've vaulted it from eBay. And you can do this. I did this with one of my GameStop card purchases also, so we'll see if it works. But when you have a PSA vault, you have a shipping address that you can then use anytime that you are checking out at GameStop or on eBay or any retailer. Anytime you're buying a card, instead of shipping it to you, you can ship it to your PSA vault address. And the shipping cost is the same, but you pay no sales tax because it's a Delaware address. So you save yourself that sales tax money and it goes straight to the vault. So you don't, personally, I don't want to have all these cards in my physical possession because I don't want someone to rob me one day. I'm like, all my cards are in the vault, except for a few that I keep so that I can look at some and show them to my boys and stuff. And even the vault ones I might ship to myself later. But if I ship it to, especially if you're getting a higher end card, saving that sales tax, it's like, okay, well, I just saved myself $80. So even if I ship it to the vault and then ship it to me later, I might have paid twice for shipping, but I still saved on the sales tax compared to what I would have done. If I want to sell it later, I'm going to be happy that it's already in the vault because then I get to sell it from the vault, right? Any cards that are in the vault, you can sell from the PSA vault on eBay, whether you bought them through Power Packs or whether you bought them through any other means. You can utilize the PSA vault, and I'm thankful for Power Packs for introducing me to that because I didn't even know that before. A couple more comments here. Andrew says the UI is seamless. Yeah, they did an awesome job. Like really impressed with their display of everything. Ben just said, would be great if GameStop announces the number of pro memberships. I know they used to way back in the day. They told you how many people were paying members, but they don't tell you that anymore. Honestly, I think it doesn't matter that much because I think they basically run their pro membership at break even. Like, I don't think they are interested in making a profit on the pros. I think they want to give value to pros, and the $25 that they earn, they're pouring more than that back out in terms of value to you, expense on their front. So they're just interested in generating the loyalty and delighting customers. And that's what the pro membership's all about. It's not really about them boosting their revenue through the pro membership specifically. It's really them increasing the value per customer. Like, if someone is a pro, they will spend this much more at GameStop in the next 12 months. They have that data. And so they can see what the total net increase to their sales numbers will be based on, can we make this an even more and more rewarding experience for people? And I think that's what it's all about. I don't think they are too interested in making money from the pros straight up. It would still be nice though to see how many people are paying pros, you know? Short Fridays has 7 cards in the vault. Ease of mind, not losing them, not getting them dirty. Totally. Gunter says at 90% buyback and 6% seller's fee, GameStop makes 15.4% per card sold back to GME, which I don't know like where you are. Yeah, 90%. So, right, the 90% buyback and 6% seller's fee is what someone pays. So, if you sell it back instantly, you only get actually 84% because it's the 90% buyback offer plus the seller's fee. Gunter, what we don't know is how much of that revenue does GameStop make? How much of that revenue is what PSA makes? It's a partnership. It's not only GameStop's business. But yes, a huge point is that Courtyard, like we know from that article about Courtyard, like they stated they sell a card on average 8 times instantly, right? 8 times a card is sold on an instant buyback basis until it is vaulted by someone. And even the vaulted ones probably still eventually get sold back, right? Me in this vault, like I'm not planning on shipping any of these to me anytime soon, right? Even if I want to hold them for 5 years, it's still like this close to being back in the Power Packs ecosystem compared to if I actually shipped it to myself. But yeah, the rotation of those cards being sold instantly is huge as far as how much money can this business make. Again, the question is how much of that from a top line revenue perspective is going to PSA versus GameStop. But no matter what, there's a lot of money in this pie. A lot of money in this pie. I'm a member as well. Andrew is as well. Glad that we're in it together. I'm probably overdue. I haven't heard from my wife, so she's being a trooper, but this live stream definitely went longer than I planned on it. Thank you again, Short Fries, for the super. Thank you, Joe, for joining as a friend the other day. I appreciate you guys. And yeah, feel free to, once this posts on YouTube, if you want to add in any more thoughts in the comments, chewing on the collectibles business, specifically for Q3. I'm going to make a separate video talking about how to value the collectibles business, because I think the worst case scenario for the collectibles business valuation is still substantially higher than what GameStop is being valued at as a business. And that doesn't even factor in their hardware and software business. So I'm excited to make that video soon. Hope you guys enjoy that one. All that to say, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate y'all so much, and I will see y'all in the next one.